My name is Janelle Morgan. I'm 34 years old, and 2 hours after burying my 6-year-old daughter Amaya, my doctor called with a message that shattered what was left of my world. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "Mrs. Morgan, come to my office right now. Don't tell anyone, not even your husband. This is dangerous." When I walked into that office, the person standing there, the one I trusted more than anyone, destroyed me in ways I never thought possible. Before we continue, drop a comment telling us which city you're watching from. And please, hit that like button and subscribe so this story reaches more people who need to hear it. 2 hours after laying my baby girl to rest, I sat in my bedroom surrounded by the suffocating smell of funeral flowers and the echoes of hollow condolences. People kept telling me God needed another angel, that Amaya was in a better place, that time would heal this wound. But how do you heal from burying your 6-year-old daughter? How do you survive knowing that the last 8 months of her life were spent in hospital rooms, watching her small body wither away from a blood disorder that the doctors said was rare and aggressive? My name is Janelle Morgan, and I'm a nurse. I've worked at Memorial Community Hospital for 12 years. I've seen death. I've held the hands of dying patients. I've comforted grieving families. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for watching my own daughter fade away. Amaya was my everything. My beautiful, artistic, vibrant little girl who loved to paint sunsets and dance to Beyoncé in our living room. She had my smile and her grandmother's eyes. And now she was gone. The house was still full of people. My mother was in the kitchen making plates nobody would eat. My sister was answering the door, accepting casseroles and condolences. And my husband, Terrence looked like a broken man. He sat on the couch in his black suit, tie loosened, eyes red and swollen. People kept hugging him, telling him how strong he was, how devoted he'd been during Amaya's illness, how he never left her side. And I watched him play that role perfectly, the devastated father, the supportive husband, the man barely holding himself together for his wife's sake. I believed it, every single bit of it. Because why wouldn't I? Terrence worked in pharmaceutical sales. He made good money. He'd been my college sweetheart. We'd built a life together. When Amaya got sick 8 months ago, he dropped everything. He took leave from work. He researched treatments. He insisted we see only the best doctors. And the best, according to him, was Dr. Camille Ross. Dr. Camille Ross. Even saying her name now makes my stomach turn. She was a pediatric oncologist, sophisticated, brilliant, beautiful. A black woman who'd made it to the top of her field. She and Terrence had gone to college together. They'd stayed friends over the years. When Amaya started showing symptoms, fatigue, bruising, nosebleeds, Terrence immediately called Camille. She fast-tracked Amaya's appointments. She personally oversaw every test, every treatment. She held my hand and cried with me when she delivered the diagnosis. A rare blood disorder, aggressive and nearly impossible to treat. She promised she'd do everything in her power to save my baby. I trusted her. God help me. I trusted her completely. Looking back now, I can see the red flags I ignored. The way Terrence insisted we only see Dr. Ross. No second opinions. No other specialists. The way he got angry when I suggested consulting doctors at other hospitals. The strange symptoms Amaya had that didn't quite match what I'd read about her supposed condition. The medication bottles that seemed to change every few weeks. The way Amaya would whisper to me that Daddy's special medicine tasted like metal and made her tummy hurt worse than Mommy's medicine. But I was drowning in grief and exhaustion. I was working double shifts to keep our insurance active while Terrence stayed home with Amaya. I was running on coffee and prayers, and the desperate hope that my daughter would beat this thing. I didn't have the energy to question. I didn't have the clarity to see what was right in front of me. Until that phone call. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at nothing, when my phone vibrated. Dr. Ross's name lit up the screen. My first thought was confusion. She'd been at the funeral. She'd cried over Amaya's casket. She'd hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. Why was she calling me now? I answered with a shaking hand. Hello? Her voice was barely a whisper, strangled with fear. Mrs. Morgan, please listen to me carefully. I can't talk long. I need you to come to my office at the medical building right now. Come alone. Don't tell anyone you're coming. Not your family. Not your husband. Especially not Terrence. This is dangerous. Janelle. Please. Just come. I have something you need to see. My heart started pounding so hard I thought it would break through my ribs. Camille, what are you talking about? What's going on? I can't say over the phone. Just come. Please. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Her voice cracked. And then the line went dead. I sat there staring at my phone. My mind racing. What could possibly be so urgent that Dr. Ross needed to see me 2 hours after my daughter's funeral? What was she sorry for? And why did she sound so terrified? Every instinct I had as a nurse, as a mother, was screaming that something was horribly wrong. I wiped my face, stood up, and walked to my closet. I changed out of my funeral dress into jeans and a hoodie, moving like a woman in a trance. I grabbed my purse and my keys. When I came downstairs, Terrence looked up from the couch. His eyes were red, his face puffy. He looked like he'd aged 10 years and 8 months. Baby, where are you going? His voice was hoarse, gentle. I forced myself to look at him, to lie to the man I'd shared a bed with for 12 years. I need to go to the county office to pick up some death certificate copies. For the insurance claims. I need to move. I can't sit here anymore. Terrence stood up, concern flooding his face. Let me come with you. You shouldn't be driving. No. The word came out sharper than I intended. I softened my tone. No, baby. I need some time alone. Just 30 minutes. I'll be right back. My mother came out of the kitchen, worry creasing her face. Janelle, honey, you sure you should be going anywhere right now? I'm fine, Mama. I just need some air. I kissed her cheek and walked out before anyone could stop me. The drive to the medical building felt surreal. The city looked the same as it always did, but everything had changed. My baby was gone. And something terrible was waiting for me at Dr. Ross's office. I gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. My mind kept circling back to Camille's voice. The fear in it. The apology. What was she sorry for? The medical building was mostly empty. It was Saturday evening, hours after normal office closings. The parking lot had only a handful of cars. I parked near the entrance and sat there for a moment, trying to steady my breathing. My phone buzzed. A text from Terrence, love you. Drive safe. I wanted to scream. Instead, I got out of the car and walked into the building. The lobby was dim, lit only by emergency lighting. My footsteps echoed on the tile floor. I took the elevator to the 4th floor where Dr. Ross's office was located. The hallway was completely silent, empty, almost eerie. Most of the office doors were dark, but at the end of the hall, I could see a sliver of light coming from under Dr. Ross's door. My heart was hammering as I approached. The door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open slowly, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Dr. Camille Ross was standing near her desk, her usually immaculate appearance disheveled. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. Her makeup was smudged from crying. Her hands were shaking. And standing in front of her, blocking her path to the door, was my husband, Terrence. He had his back to me, but I would recognize him anywhere. The set of his shoulders. The way he shifted his weight onto his left leg. The expensive cologne he always wore. He was holding something in his hand, a small flash drive. And he was speaking to Dr. Ross in a voice I had never heard before. Cold. Hard. Threatening. You need to give me every copy, Camille. Every single file. Every lab result. Every record. All of it. Or I swear to God. Terrence, please. Dr. Ross's voice was shaking, pleading. I can't live with this anymore. That little girl, she didn't deserve. Shut up. The venom in his voice made me flinch. You got your money. You did what you were paid to do. Now give me the files and we can all move on. I must have made a sound, a gasp, a whimper, something, because Terrence spun around. And when his eyes met mine, I saw something that will haunt me for the rest of my life. For just a split second, there was no grief in his face. No surprise. Just cold calculation. And then, like flipping a switch, his expression crumbled into the mask of the broken husband I'd seen all day. "Janelle?" His voice was suddenly soft, confused. "Baby, what are you doing here?" I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. My eyes went from Terrence to Dr. Ross, who had gone pale as a ghost. Her lips were trembling. Tears were streaming down her face. And in that moment, I knew. I didn't know the details yet. I didn't know the whole horrible truth. But I knew that something unspeakable had happened. Something involving my husband and my daughter's doctor. Something that had to do with Amaya's death. "What's going on?" My voice didn't sound like my own. It was flat, hollow. "Why are you here?" "Terrence?" "Why did Dr. Ross call me?" Terrence took a step toward me. His hands raised like he was approaching a frightened animal. The flash drive disappeared into his pocket. "Baby, I know this looks strange. I couldn't stay at the house either. Too many memories. I came to get Amaya's medical records. I thought it would help to have everything together for the insurance paperwork." Dr. Ross was just. "Stop lying to him." Dr. Ross's voice cut through the room like a knife. "Stop lying, Terrence. She deserves to know the truth." Terrence's face went rigid. "Camille, don't. I'm done." "Doctor." Ross was sobbing now, her whole body shaking. "I'm done being part of this. I can't do it anymore. That baby is dead because of us." The world tilted. I grabbed the door frame to keep from falling. "What did you just say?" Dr. Ross looked at me with eyes full of guilt and horror. "Janelle, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I never wanted. I didn't think he would actually." She couldn't finish. She was crying too hard. Terrence's mask slipped again. His voice went cold. "Shut your mouth, Camille. Right now." But Dr. Ross shook her head, tears and snot running down her face. She reached into her lab coat pocket with shaking hands and pulled out a folded piece of paper. She shoved past Terrence and pressed it into my hand, her fingers ice cold. "Take this. Read it. I have more proof, but he knows. I have copies hidden. Please, Janelle, please, you have to." Terrence grabbed her arm, yanking her back. I said, "Shut up. Get your hands off her." I heard myself screaming. My nurse training kicked in. I stepped forward, putting myself between them. "Terrence, what the hell is going on?" He looked at me. And for the first time in 12 years, I didn't recognize the man standing in front of me. His eyes were flat, empty. "We're leaving. Now." "No." I backed toward the door, clutching the paper Dr. Ross had given me. "I'm not going anywhere with you until someone tells me what's happening." "Janelle, baby, you're upset. You're not thinking clearly. Let's just go home and—" "Don't you dare." My voice was shaking with rage I didn't even know I had. "Don't you dare stand there and tell me I'm not thinking clearly. Tell me the truth. Right now. What did she mean, Amaya is dead because of you?" The silence that followed was deafening. Terrence stared at me. Dr. Ross was openly weeping against the desk. And then Terrence's face changed again. Back to that grieving husband mask. He reached for me. "Let's talk about this at home. Not here. Come on, baby." I slapped his hand away. "Don't touch me." His jaw clenched. "Fine. Have it your way. But you need to understand something, Janelle. You don't know what you're getting into. This is bigger than you think. You need to be very, very careful." It was a threat. Clear as day. My husband, the man I'd loved, the father of my child, was threatening me. I turned and ran. I ran down that hallway, my footsteps echoing off the walls. I hit the stairwell instead of waiting for the elevator. I could hear Terrence shouting behind me. But I didn't stop. I flew down 4 flights of stairs and burst out into the parking lot. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely get my key in the ignition. I locked the doors, started the engine, and peeled out of that parking lot like the devil himself was chasing me. Because maybe he was. I drove without thinking, tears blurring my vision, my breath coming in gasps. I ended up in the parking lot of a closed grocery store about 2 miles away. I pulled into the darkest corner I could find and finally looked at the paper Dr. Ross had given me. It was a lab report, Amaya's lab report, but the results made no sense. According to this test, Done 3 weeks before Amaya died. Her blood work was completely normal. No signs of disease. No abnormalities. Nothing that would indicate the aggressive blood disorder Dr. Ross had diagnosed. My hands started shaking harder. I unfolded the paper completely. On the back, in Dr. Ross's handwriting, was a note. Janelle Amaya never had a blood disorder. Check the medication bottles at home. The pills Terrence gave her weren't treating anything. They were poisoning her. Chemotherapy drugs for a disease she never had. He's been killing her slowly for months. Life insurance policy $2 million. Signed 1 year ago. Sole beneficiary. Terrence Morgan. I have proof. All the real test results. Audio recordings. He paid me $50,000 to fake the diagnosis and keep quiet. I'm so sorry. I thought he was just trying to get insurance money. I didn't know he would actually kill her. I'm going to turn everything over to the police tomorrow. Be careful. He's dangerous. I read it 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. The words didn't change. My baby. My sweet, beautiful, artistic baby girl didn't die from a disease. She died because her father poisoned her. For money. For $2 million in life insurance. The scream that came out of me didn't sound human. It was raw and primal and full of a pain so deep it had no bottom. I screamed until my throat was raw. I beat my fists against the steering wheel until my hands were bruised. And then I cried. I cried until there was nothing left inside me but a hollow, aching rage. When I finally stopped, I was shaking all over. I looked at my phone. 7 missed calls from Terrence. 3 voicemails. Multiple texts. Where are you? Baby, please come home. We need to talk. I can explain everything. Don't do anything stupid. That last one. Don't do anything stupid. Another threat. I turned off my phone. I couldn't go home. I couldn't face him. Not yet. Not until I had proof. Not until I could make him pay for what he'd done. Because in that moment, sitting in that dark parking lot, clutching that lab report, I made a decision. I wasn't just going to grieve my daughter. I was going to get justice for her. And Terrence was going to suffer the way he made my baby suffer. But first, I needed help. I turned my phone back on long enough to make one call. My cousin Deshawn answered on the second ring. Nellie? Girl, where are you? Terrence is blowing up everybody's phone looking for you. Deshawn, I need your help. I need it right now. Can you meet me? My voice was steady now. Cold, determined. Deshawn worked in cybersecurity. He was brilliant with computers, had been hacking since he was a teenager. He'd gone legit after a close call in his 20s, but he still had skills that most people only saw in movies. And he was family. He was blood. I could trust him. Of course. What's going on? You sound. Not over the phone. Meet me at your place. And Deshawn? Don't tell anyone. Not Mama, not your girlfriend, nobody. Please. There was a pause. Then. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Come straight there. I drove to Deshawn's apartment on the east side, checking my rearview mirror every few seconds to make sure Terrence wasn't following me. When I got there, Deshawn was waiting at the door. He took one look at my face and pulled me inside. Nellie. What the hell happened? You look. I handed him the lab report. Read this. Deshawn read it once, his expression shifting from confusion to horror. Jesus Christ. Janelle. Is this saying what I think it's saying? Terrence killed Amaya. He poisoned her. For insurance money. Dr. Ross helped him fake the diagnosis. And now she's ready to go to the police. My voice cracked. My husband murdered our daughter. Deshawn pulled me into a hug, and I finally let myself break down. I sobbed into his shoulder while he held me, cursing under his breath, his own tears falling into my hair. When I could finally breathe again, I pulled back and wiped my face. I need your help, Deshawn. I need to find proof. Real proof. Before Terrence destroys everything. Dr. Ross said she had recordings, documents. But I don't know if she'll survive the night. I saw the way Terrence looked at her. He's going to kill her too if she talks. Deshawn's jaw clenched. What do you need me to do? Everything. I need to get into our house without Terrence knowing. I need to find those medication bottles. I need to access his computer, his phone records, his bank accounts. I need to find that insurance policy. And I need to do it without him catching me. Deshawn nodded slowly. Okay. We can do this. But Nellie, you need to understand if what you're saying is true. Terrence is extremely dangerous right now. He's killed once. He won't hesitate to do it again to protect himself. I know. And I did know. The man I married was gone. In his place was a monster. A murderer. And I was going to bring him down if it was the last thing I did. We spent the next hour planning. Deshawn had equipment cameras, recording devices, hacking software. He walked me through how to access Terrence's laptop remotely, how to clone his phone, how to search for hidden files. We decided I would go back home, play the grieving wife, and wait for an opportunity to search the house. But at 11:47 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Mrs. Morgan? An unfamiliar male voice. Yes? This is Detective Hayes with Metro Police. I'm calling about Dr. Camille Ross. I'm sorry to inform you that Dr. Ross was found deceased in her office approximately 1 hour ago. Apparent suicide by drug overdose. We found your name and number in her recent call log and wanted to reach out. Were you close with Dr. Ross? The phone slipped from my hand. Deshawn caught it, listened, his face going hard. He mouthed to me. They killed her. Dr. Camille Ross. Dead. Suicide. Just hours after she was ready to turn in evidence against Terrence. I felt my rage crystallize into something sharp and cold and deadly. Deshawn handled the detective. Told him I was too distraught to talk. That I'd come to the station tomorrow to give a statement. When he hung up, we looked at each other. He killed her, I whispered. Terrence killed her. Or had someone kill her. She had proof, and he killed her for it. Which means whatever proof she had might be gone now too. Deshawn was pacing, thinking. Unless she made copies. Unless she hid them somewhere. Nell, we need to move fast. If Terrence is cleaning up loose ends, you could be next. Then let's make sure I'm a loose end he can't tie up. I stood, wiping my face. The woman who'd buried her daughter that morning was gone. In her place was someone harder, colder. Someone with nothing left to lose. We drove back toward my house, but I made Deshawn park 3 blocks away. It was after midnight. Most of the lights in the house were off, but I could see the glow of the TV in the living room. Terrence was still awake, probably waiting for me. I texted him. I'm sorry I ran. I'm okay. Staying at Mama's tonight. Need some space. Please understand. His response came immediately. Thank God. I was so worried. I love you. We'll talk tomorrow. Love you too. The lie tasted like poison. Deshawn and I waited until we saw the living room light go off, then waited another hour to be sure. At 2 a.m., I used my key to let us into the house through the side door that led to the garage. We moved through the dark house like ghosts. I knew every creaking floorboard, every squeaky hinge. Deshawn followed my lead. We went to Amaya's room first. My heart broke all over again seeing her paintings still on the walls, her stuffed animals on the bed, her art supplies scattered on her desk. Everything exactly as she'd left it. I wanted to curl up on her floor and die. But I didn't. I started searching. In her toy chest, underneath the stuffed animals and board games, I found it. Amaya's art journal. The one she'd been drawing in for months. I opened it with shaking hands. The first pages were typical 6-year-old art. Rainbows, flowers, our family holding hands. But as I flipped through, the drawings got darker. There were pictures of Amaya with a sad face, lying in a bed. Pictures of pills drawn carefully, colored in reds and whites and blues. And on one page, in her careful child's handwriting, Daddy's special medicine tastes like metal. It makes my tummy hurt. But Daddy says it will make me strong. I felt Deshawn's hand on my shoulder. Nellie, I kept flipping. More drawings. Amaya looking sick. Amaya crying. And then, near the end, a drawing that made my blood run cold. It was Amaya, Terrence, and another woman I didn't recognize. The woman was drawn very tall, very thin, with yellow hair. Underneath, Amaya had written, "Daddy's friend is nice. She said when I go to heaven, Daddy and her will be happy." "Who is that?" Deshaun whispered. "I don't know. But we're going to find out." We left Amaya's room and headed to the master bedroom. I could hear Terrence snoring. The door was cracked open. Moving silently, I slipped inside and grabbed his phone from the nightstand where he always left it. His passcode was Amaya's birthday. The irony made me want to vomit. Deshaun took the phone and disappeared into the hallway, connecting it to some device that would clone all the data. I moved to Terrence's dresser, searching through drawers. In the bottom drawer, hidden under old sweaters, I found medication bottles. Lots of them. But the labels had been peeled off or scratched away. I took photos of every bottle with my phone. In the closet, in a lockbox I knew about because we kept important papers there, I found the insurance policy. $2 million. Signed 11 months ago, right before Amaya got sick. I photographed every page. I also found bank statements showing a $50,000 wire transfer to an account under Camille Ross's name. And another transfer, this one for $30,000, to something called VW Consulting. I didn't know what that was, but I photographed it too. Deshaun appeared in the doorway, holding up the phone. "Got it. Let's go. We've been here too long." We slipped back out of the house and didn't breathe again until we were safely back in Deshaun's apartment. He immediately started going through Terrence's phone data while I looked at the photos I'd taken. The medication bottles were the problem without the labels. I couldn't prove what they were, but I was a nurse. I knew where I could take them to get them tested. Memorial Hospital had a toxicology lab. I still had access. "Nellie, you need to see this." Deshaun's voice was tight. He turned his laptop toward me. Terrence's text message history was up on the screen. Messages to a contact saved as V. "Meet me at the storage unit. We need to talk about the money. Once the insurance pays out, we split it 50/50 like we agreed. After we move the business assets offshore, we can start over. New city. New life. She'll never suspect. The kid's getting sicker. Should be over soon. Then we're free." The dates on these messages ranged from 9 months ago to just 2 weeks before Amaya died. I scrolled through more messages, each one worse than the last. They were planning this, not just planning Amaya's murder, but planning a whole life together after she was gone. After they collected the insurance money, V. The woman with yellow hair in Amaya's drawing. "His boss," I whispered. "Vanessa Wright, CEO of the pharmaceutical company he works for. Tall, blonde, early 40s. Oh my God. He's having an affair with her." This was about money and running off with his mistress. Deshaun kept digging through the phone. He found photos. Terrence and Vanessa at restaurants, at hotels, on what looked like business trips. Some of the photos were date-stamped from when Amaya was in the hospital, fighting for her life. While I was sitting by our daughter's bedside, Terrence was with her. I thought I'd cried out all my tears. I was wrong. But this time, the tears were hot with rage. "There's more," Deshaun said quietly. He opened Terrence's email. There were dozens of emails between Terrence and Vanessa discussing the plan. And worse, there were emails between Terrence and Dr. Ross. Medical records that had been altered. Lab results that had been faked. Instructions on which chemotherapy drugs to prescribe to mimic blood disorder symptoms while slowly causing organ failure. They had discussed the best way to kill my daughter like they were planning a business merger. One email from Vanessa to Terrence, dated 8 months ago. "My company can provide the necessary medications through our experimental drug program. No questions asked. No trail. Just make sure the dosing is consistent. We need this to look natural. No mistakes." Terrence's response: "Don't worry. Camille is on board. She'll handle the medical side. I'll handle Janelle. She's a nurse but she trusts me completely. This will work." I stood up and walked to Deshaun's bathroom. I barely made it to the toilet before I threw up everything in my stomach. I vomited until there was nothing left, until I was dry heaving, until my ribs hurt. Deshaun held my hair back, not saying anything. What was there to say? When I could finally stand again, I washed my face and looked at myself in the mirror. The woman looking back at me was someone I didn't recognize. Her eyes were hollow. Her face was gaunt. She looked like she'd aged 20 years in one day. But there was something else in her eyes, too. Something hard and cold, and absolutely unforgiving. "Deshawn," I said, my voice steady now. "I need you to help me destroy them. Not just turn them in. Not just get them arrested. I want to destroy them completely. I want them to lose everything. I want them to feel the terror Amaya felt. I want them to suffer the way she suffered. Can you help me do that?" Deshawn looked at me for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Yes. Whatever you need. Whatever it takes." We went back into the living room. It was nearly 4 a.m., but neither of us was tired. We were running on adrenaline and rage. Deshawn pulled up everything he'd found on Terrence's phone emails. Texts, photos, banking records. I added everything I'd photographed at the house. "Okay," Deshawn said. "Here's what we know. Terrence and Vanessa Wright have been having an affair for at least a year. They planned Amaya's murder together to collect the insurance money. Vanessa used her position at the pharmaceutical company to provide chemotherapy drugs. Terrence paid Dr. Ross $50,000 to fake Amaya's diagnosis and prescribe the drugs that killed her. Dr. Ross grew a conscience and threatened to go to the police, so they killed her and made it look like suicide." "What about that VW consulting payment? The $30,000? Deshawn pulled up more records. "VW Consulting is a shell company registered to Vanessa Wright. Looks like Terrence was paying her for something. Maybe the drugs. Maybe planning money. Either way, it's evidence of conspiracy. We have enough to go to the police," I said. "Right now. We could turn all of this over, and they'd arrest Terrence and Vanessa by morning. But," Deshawn knew me too well, "but that's not enough. They'll get good lawyers. They'll claim the evidence is circumstantial. They'll say the emails were taken out of context. Terrence will cry and play the devastated father. Vanessa will use her money and connections to make this go away. They might not even get convicted. And even if they do, they'll be in some comfortable prison for a few years before getting paroled for good behavior. So what do you want to do?" I thought about Amaya, my sweet baby girl who loved to paint sunsets, who sang in the bathtub, who gave the best hugs. I thought about how she must have felt, slowly getting sicker and sicker, not understanding why, trusting her daddy to make her better. And instead, he was killing her. I want them to confess. On camera. In front of witnesses. I want them to destroy each other. I want them to lose everything before they go to prison. Their money, their reputations, their freedom, everything. And then I want them to spend the rest of their lives thinking about what they did." Deshawn smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "I can work with that. But we're going to need time. And we're going to need you to play a role. Can you go home and pretend everything is normal while we set this up?" Could I? Could I look at Terrence, knowing what he'd done, and not try to kill him with my bare hands? I thought about it. I thought about Amaya. And I realized that the best way to honor my daughter was to make sure her killers paid for what they'd done. Completely. Totally. Without any chance of escape. "Yes," I said. "I can do it. Tell me what you need." Over the next 3 days, I became an actress. I went home to Terrence. I cried in his arms. I let him comfort me. I listened to him talk about how much he missed Amaya. I let him hold me at night. And the entire time, I wanted to scream. I wanted to claw his face off. But I didn't. I played the grieving wife perfectly. And while I did that, Deshawn was working. He hacked into Terrence's laptop remotely and installed monitoring software that let us see everything Terrence did. We watched him delete emails. We watched him try to wipe his phone history. But it was too late, we'd already copied everything. I also went back to the house when Terrence was at work and retrieved those medication bottles. I took them to Memorial Hospital's toxicology lab, using my access badge to get in after hours. I told the lab tech it was for a case I was working on. Completely off the books. She ran the tests and gave me the results 2 days later. The pills Terrence had been giving Amaya were a combination of methotrexate, cyclophosphamide, and vincristine chemotherapy drugs used to treat cancer. In the dosages Terrence had been administering, they would slowly destroy healthy organs. They would cause exactly the symptoms Amaya had experienced: fatigue, nausea, weakness, bruising, bleeding. They would kill a healthy child over a period of months while making it look like a progressive blood disorder. I also remembered that Terrence kept a storage unit. He'd always said it was for old business equipment and seasonal items. But now I wondered what else might be there. I found the key in his desk drawer while he was in the shower. The unit was at a facility on the south side of town. Deshawn and I went there on a Wednesday afternoon when Terrence was supposed to be at a sales conference. We opened the unit and found exactly what I expected: boxes of financial records, property deeds, offshore account statements. Terrence and Vanessa had been funneling money overseas for months. They had accounts in the Cayman Islands. They had a property deed for a house in Costa Rica. They were planning to leave the country as soon as the insurance money cleared. We photographed everything. Every document, every receipt, every piece of evidence that showed premeditation. But we needed more. We needed Terrence and Vanessa to incriminate themselves. We needed them to confess on record. And we needed it to happen in a way that would make national news so they couldn't wriggle out of it. "What about Vanessa's company?" I asked Deshawn. "The pharmaceutical company. They're having their annual shareholders gala next Friday. Terrence mentioned it a few weeks ago. He said Vanessa was giving him some kind of award for his sales performance." Deshawn's eyes lit up. "That's perfect. Public venue. Media present. Important people in attendance. If we can get them to confess there, in front of everyone, there's no walking it back." "How do we do that?" "We make them turn on each other. Create situations where each of them thinks the other one is betraying them. Paranoia. Fear. Desperation makes people sloppy. Makes them say things they shouldn't. And that's what we did. Over the next week, we waged psychological warfare. First, we hacked Vanessa's email and sent Terrence a fake message from her account. "We need to talk. I'm getting nervous about the police investigation into Camille's death. I think we should come clean before this gets worse. Meet me at the office tonight." Terrence panicked. We watched through his laptop camera as he paced around his home office, making calls that went to voicemail. He tried to reach Vanessa, but she wasn't responding because we'd blocked his number in her phone remotely. Then we did the same thing in reverse. We sent Vanessa a fake message from Terrence's email. "Change of plans. I'm keeping all the insurance money. The police are asking questions. You're on your own. Don't contact me again." We watched her freak out through her office security camera that Deshawn had hacked into. She started making angry calls, sent furious texts. The trust between them was cracking, but we didn't stop there. We wanted them to completely fall apart. So I did something that made my skin crawl, but I knew it would work. I went to Terrence's phone while he was sleeping and sent a message to Vanessa. "Janelle knows something. She's been acting strange. We might need to take care of her too." And then I waited. The next morning, Vanessa called Terrence. I was in the kitchen making coffee when his phone rang. He saw her name and immediately went outside to take the call. But I'd already installed a recording app on his phone. We captured the entire conversation. "What the hell are you talking about?" "Taking care of Janelle," Vanessa hissed. "I didn't send you that message," Terrence said, and I could hear the confusion in his voice. "Yes, you did. Last night at 2 a.m. Vanessa, I was asleep at 2 a.m. Someone's messing with us." There was a long pause. "You think Camille had a backup plan? You think she sent evidence to someone before she died?" "I don't know. But we need to be careful. The gala is in 2 days. After that, after I get this award and we make our final appearance together, we're done. We take the money and we disappear. Like we planned." "And what about Janelle?" Another pause. When Terrence spoke again, his voice was cold. "Janelle is not a problem. She's too grief-stricken to function. She doesn't suspect anything. After the gala, I'll tell her I need some time away to deal with my grief. Then I just won't come back." "You're just going to abandon her? What else do you want me to do?" "She served her purpose. She gave me a daughter who became my ticket to $2 million. Now she's dead weight." Dead weight. He called me dead weight. The mother of his child, his wife of 12 years. I listened to the rest of the conversation through earbuds while staring at my reflection in the kitchen window. The woman looking back at me was a stranger. But she was a stranger with a plan. The night before the gala, I went to visit my mother. I gave her a sealed envelope. "Mama, I need you to hold on to this for me. Don't open it unless something happens to me. If I'm arrested, if I'm hurt, if I go missing, you open it and you take it to the police. You understand?" My mother looked scared. "Baby, what's going on? You're scaring me. I'm going to be fine. I promise. I just need to know this is safe. Please, Mama, just do this for me." She took the envelope. Inside was every piece of evidence Deshawn and I had gathered. Copies of everything. Insurance if something went wrong. Then I went home and I got ready for the gala. Terrence was excited. He spent an hour getting dressed, fixing his tie, putting on cufflinks. He looked at himself in the mirror and smiled. He actually smiled. Like he didn't have a care in the world. Like our daughter wasn't dead in the ground. "You look beautiful," he said to me when I came out in my black dress. "Thank you." I smiled back. "I'm so proud of you, baby. This award is such an honor." He kissed my forehead. "Thank you for coming with me tonight. I know it's hard, but it means everything to have you by my side. Liar. Murderer. Monster." But I just smiled and took his arm and let him lead me to the car. The gala was at the Crystal Ballroom downtown. It was packed with pharmaceutical executives, doctors, researchers, and local media. Everyone in expensive clothes, drinking champagne, pretending to care about advances in medicine. It made me sick. Vanessa was there, of course. She was stunning in a red dress, her blonde hair perfectly styled. She greeted Terrence with a professional hug and shook my hand with a sympathetic smile. "Janelle, I was so sorry to hear about your daughter. Terrence has been so devastated." "Thank you," I said softly. "He speaks so highly of you. He says you've been very supportive during this difficult time." Her smile faltered just a little. "Of course. He's one of our best." Deshawn was there too, posing as a member of the catering staff. We'd managed to get him on the crew working the event. He had tiny cameras hidden in his jacket and an earpiece so we could communicate. He also had access to the event's audiovisual system, the same system that was supposed to show a promotional video during Vanessa's speech, except we'd replaced that video with something else. The evening progressed. Dinner was served, speeches were made, and then it was time for Terrence's award. Vanessa took the stage, the lights illuminating her perfect smile. She talked about excellence in pharmaceutical sales, about dedication to the company, about Terrence's outstanding performance this year. Terrence stood up, adjusting his jacket, preparing to walk to the stage. This was his moment, his triumph, the last public appearance before he disappeared with his mistress and my daughter's blood money. But then the screen behind Vanessa flickered. Instead of the promotional video, a different image appeared. Amaya's face. My beautiful daughter smiling at the camera. And then the image changed to one of her in the hospital, pale and weak. Vanessa stopped talking, confused. The room went silent. And then my voice filled the ballroom, clear and strong. 2 months ago, my 6-year-old daughter Amaya died. I was told it was from a rare blood disorder. But that was a lie. My daughter was murdered. And the people who killed her are in this room right now. Gasps echoed through the crowd. People started looking around. Terrence's face went white. The screen changed again. This time it showed the faked medical records. The emails between Terrence and Dr. Ross discussing the treatment plan. The text messages between Terrence and Vanessa talking about the insurance money. My husband, Terrence Morgan, and his mistress, Vanessa Wright, conspired to poison my daughter over the course of 8 months. They used chemotherapy drugs, provided by this very pharmaceutical company to slowly kill a healthy child. They bribed Dr. Camille Ross, a trusted pediatric oncologist, to fake Amaya's diagnosis. And when Dr. Ross threatened to go to the police, they killed her too and staged it as a suicide. The room exploded. People were shouting. Cameras were flashing. Security guards were moving toward the stage. But Deshawn had locked the doors remotely. No one was getting out. More evidence filled the screen. Bank statements showing the payoffs, photos of Terrence and Vanessa together, the insurance policy, the offshore accounts, the property in Costa Rica, everything. Vanessa was screaming, trying to shut off the projector. But Deshawn had disabled the manual controls. She turned on Terrence, her face twisted with rage. "You idiot! You said this was foolproof. You said no one would ever know." Terrence was trying to get to the exit, but security guards, actual police officers, who'd been tipped off by Deshawn through an anonymous call, blocked his path. "This isn't what it looks like," Terrence shouted. "These documents are fake. Someone's setting me up." "Really?" I stood up from my seat. The spotlight found me. Every eye in that ballroom turned to watch as I walked toward the stage. "Then, explain the medication bottles I found in our house. The ones that tested positive for chemotherapy drugs. Explain the emails where you discussed the best way to kill our daughter. Explain why you took out a $2 million insurance policy on a healthy 6-year-old. Terrence looked at me like he was seeing a ghost. "Janelle, baby, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly." My voice was ice. "You murdered our daughter for money so you could run away with your mistress. You made her suffer for months. You made her think she was sick when she was healthy. You destroyed her little body one pill at a time. And you looked me in the eye every single day and lied." Vanessa pointed at Terrence. "This was all him. He came to me with the plan. I just provided the medications. I didn't know he was actually going to kill the kid." "You lying," Terrence lunged at her, but the police grabbed him. "You're the one who said we should make it slow so it looked natural. You're the one who killed Camille." And there it was. Both of them confessing. Both of them turning on each other. In front of a room full of witnesses. In front of cameras that were broadcasting this to every major news network that Deshawn had anonymously tipped off. The police moved in. I watched as they handcuffed Terrence and Vanessa, reading them their rights. Terrence was screaming that it wasn't his fault. That Vanessa had manipulated him. That he'd loved Amaya. Vanessa was crying. Her makeup running. Begging them to listen to her side of the story. I felt nothing but cold satisfaction. Detective Hayes, the same one who'd called me about Dr. Ross's death, approached me. "Mrs. Morgan, we need you to come to the station and make a formal statement." "Of course. I have more evidence to share with you. Copies of everything you need to convict them both." He nodded, his expression grim. This is one of the worst cases I've ever seen. I'm so sorry for your loss." "Thank you. But I'm not looking for sympathy, Detective. I'm looking for justice. And I want to make sure they never hurt another child." The story exploded. By the next morning, it was on every news channel in the country. Mother exposes husband's plot to murder daughter. The pharmaceutical company's stock plummeted. The board of directors fired Vanessa before she even made bail. Protesters showed up at the company headquarters demanding oversight and accountability. Terrence and Vanessa were both charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, insurance fraud, and a dozen other crimes. The evidence was overwhelming. The case was airtight. Their lawyers tried to get the charges reduced. But the public outcry was too loud. The pressure was too great. The trial didn't start for 6 months. During that time, I testified before a grand jury. I gave interviews to every news outlet that asked. I made sure Amaya's face was everywhere. I made sure people knew what these monsters had done. But there was another kind of justice happening too. The kind that doesn't come from a courtroom. 3 weeks after his arrest, while being held in county jail awaiting trial, Terrence got into a fight with another inmate. The inmate was a father serving time for drug possession. When he found out what Terrence had done, when he learned that Terrence had murdered his own child, he beat Terrence so badly that the guards had to pull him off. Terrence survived. But his injuries were severe. The doctors said he'd have permanent nerve damage in his hands. He'd have trouble walking. He'd be in chronic pain for the rest of his life. I didn't celebrate this news. But I didn't mourn it either. Karma, it seemed, was real. Vanessa had her own reckoning. In jail, she went through withdrawal from the pills. She'd been taking pills from her own company. She'd been addicted for years, it turned out. Without access to her drugs, she had seizures. She lost weight. Her hair started falling out. The beautiful, powerful woman who'd thought she could get away with murder was reduced to a shaking, desperate shell. When the trial finally began, I sat in that courtroom every single day. I looked Terrence and Vanessa in the eyes. I listened to the prosecutors lay out the evidence. I watched their defense attorneys try and fail to create reasonable doubt. The most damning testimony came from a witness I didn't expect. Marcus Chen, a lab technician from Vanessa's pharmaceutical company. He came forward and admitted that Vanessa had ordered him to falsify medication labels and provide chemotherapy drugs for a confidential research project. He had records. He had emails. He testified that Vanessa had threatened to fire him if he asked questions. It took the jury 4 hours to convict them both on all counts. When the judge read the verdict, Terrence broke down crying. Vanessa just stared straight ahead, her face blank. And I felt something in my chest finally unclench. Not peace. I don't think I'll ever have peace again. But something close to it. Something like closure. At the sentencing hearing, I gave a victim impact statement. I stood at that podium and I looked at Terrence, the man I'd loved, the man I'd married, the man who'd destroyed everything, and I spoke. You took my daughter from me. You took her laughter, her art, her future. You took away her 7th birthday, her 8th, all the birthdays she'll never have. You took away her first day of middle school, her first dance, her graduation. You took away grandchildren I'll never meet. You took away everything. But you didn't just take it from her. You took it from me. You made me watch her die slowly. You made me hold her hand while she cried from pain that you caused. You made me believe I was losing her to a disease when really I was losing her to you. You looked me in the eye every single day and lied. You held me when I cried. You told me we'd get through this together. And the whole time, you were killing her. Our daughter, the little girl who called you daddy and trusted you to keep her safe. I don't forgive you. I will never forgive you. And I hope that every day you spend in prison, you think about what you did. I hope Amaya's face haunts your dreams. I hope you never know another moment of peace. I turned to Vanessa. And you. You enabled this. You provided the poison. You helped plan it. For money. For what? A life in Costa Rica? A fresh start? You sold your soul for money that wasn't even yours to take. I hope it was worth it. The judge sentenced them both to life in prison, without the possibility of parole. He added additional sentences for the other charges: conspiracy, fraud, the murder of Dr. Camille Ross that they were also charged with after evidence linked them to her death. When he was finished, Terrence would die in prison. So would Vanessa. It still wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was something. After the sentencing, I walked out of that courthouse into the sunlight. The media was there, cameras and microphones thrust in my face, everyone wanting a statement. I stopped on the steps, and I looked into those cameras. My daughter Amaya was 6 years old when she died. She loved to paint. She loved to sing. She loved to dance. She was kind and creative and full of life. And she was murdered by the 2 people who should have protected her most, her father and his mistress. I'm starting a foundation in Amaya's name. It's called Amaya's Light. We're going to advocate for children with suspicious medical diagnoses. We're going to provide oversight and second opinions for families who feel something isn't right with their child's treatment. We're going to make sure no other parent goes through what I went through. And to anyone watching this, who's thinking about hurting a child, whether it's for money, for freedom, for convenience, know this: there are people watching. There are people who will fight for that child. And if you hurt them, we will find you. We will expose you. And we will make sure you pay for what you've done. My daughter's death will not be in vain. I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure of that. That was 2 years ago. Today, Amaya's Light Foundation operates in 15 states. We've helped investigate over 100 cases of suspected medical abuse. We've saved lives. We've brought other monsters to justice. And every day, I wake up and I continue the fight. The insurance money, the $2 million that Terrence killed my daughter for, never went to him. It went to me, as Amaya's mother and surviving beneficiary. Every penny of it went into the foundation. I didn't want his blood money, but I could transform it into something good. Something that would honor my baby's memory. Deshaun works with me full-time now. He's our director of investigations. His tech skills have helped us uncover things the police missed. We make a good team. And sometimes, when the work gets too hard and the pain gets too heavy, I go to the cemetery. Amaya's grave is under a magnolia tree. I planted flowers around it, purple ones, her favorite color. I bring fresh paintings to leave at her headstone. I tell her about the kids we've helped, the families we've saved. And sometimes, on quiet evenings when the sun is setting and the light is golden, I swear I can feel her presence. Like she's telling me she's proud. Like she knows I'm fighting for her. I'll never get my daughter back. I'll never hear her laugh again. I'll never hold her in my arms. But I can make sure her death meant something. I can make sure other children are protected. I can make sure monsters like Terrence and Vanessa don't get away with their crimes. That's not the happy ending I wanted. But it's the one I'm building. One case at a time. One saved child at a time. One family at a time. My name is Janelle Morgan. I'm 36 years old now. And I'm the mother of Amaya Morgan, who died at 6 years old at the hands of her father. I carry her memory with me every single day. And I use my pain to protect other children from suffering the same fate. That's my story. That's my truth. And that's my mission for the rest of my life. Did you like the story? And which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If this story touched you, please send a super thanks so I can keep bringing stories like this that matter. Thank you for your support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story. With love and respect.